Three. Whiskey brothers and sisters, and especially whiskey fathers out there tonight on this Father's Day weekend. Welcome to the Canadian Whisky Journey. We're honored to have you, the viewer, and our panel with us today. So my name's Dolph. I'm the founder of the Canadian Whisky Journey. I'm your host tonight. And for those of you that are new to us, I'll explain a wee bit about what we are. We're a group of whiskey geeks that love to share a dram. A Canadian Whisky Journey seemed like a good way to do that every Saturday night. But why Canadian Whisky Journey? Because Canada's got so much whiskey, so much history. Why not go on our very own whiskey bourbon type of trail right here? So a Canadian Whisky Journey was born. We are tonight at a very special place. It's the Dubh Glas Distillery, which represents the 17th distillery that we focused on over the past year. Dubh Glas is supposed to be the third person distillery that we're supposed to have visited since we started our whiskey journey. But alas, due to circumstances beyond my control, I could not make the trip this weekend, but we could not be happier than being here online with the owner, Steve Lee, tonight. So let's start our roundtable introductions with our names, our other platform handles, and we'll start with Steve Lee. We're going to start with Steve Lee. We are. And
hi,
I'm
Steve Lee. I'm at the Dubh Glas Distillery. I'm the owner and distiller here in the heart of Okanagan.
And what do we have in our glasses tonight, Steve?
Well, I brought Edmonton Scotch Club, two brewers that I was starting out with tonight. So the peated Pedro Jimenez. Yeah.
But we're not drinking that tonight. You're drinking that tonight. We are drinking your special concoctions, and we'll talk about that.
That is true.
Richard.
Hey, how are you doing, everybody? Do you have a question for me, Dolph, or am I just talking about?
No, you're just introducing yourself and your other platform handles, buddy.
Yeah, I'm Rich. We Rock Whiskey on Twitter, and just thrilled to be here. This is an exciting night. I've known Steve Lee at Dubh Glas for a few years now, and just really stoked to explore it and try these particular three whiskeys that we're gonna try tonight.
Excellent, thank you, kind sir. And Adam, you're up.
Hi, yeah, my name's Adam, and I'm here just as a whiskey lover. Really enjoy trying new stuff, and I've been fortunate enough to try a couple of these already. And tonight, I'm really excited to try these 4 kind of aging processes and just learn more about whiskey in Canada.
Woohoo! We're gonna have a fantastic night. It's good. But Richard, I want to start with you. And let's make this all the same size. Perfect. They're all the same. Tell us why we're doing these 4 specifically tonight. And as you mentioned them, I'll try to hold them up. So.
Sure. We're doing these 4 because several years ago, I met Steve Lee just before a whiskey festival, I think. And we ended up talking about whiskeys and drinking a few. And then we started buying some casks. And so we've got one already in the books. That's this one here. And we've got 3 more in process. And so the cool thing about tonight is that not only do we get to try what Steve Lee's spirit is right off the still, but we've also got our 3 cask samples at varying ages. So we'll get into the details on those later. But again, I'm just so excited to be able to try those. Oh, you wanted each one of them?
No, we can do it. We're going to do that later. But I just wanted to show a little picture so people got an idea of what we had. So 3 samples. We're not having a huge amount because we don't want to drain your barrel. That's your spirit. I want.
There we go. You're draining Steve Lee's portion of it.
I'm okay with that. I think I'm okay. And it's a pleasure to have Steve Lee, the owner and Chief Spirits Officer, with us here tonight, because that's what he likes to call himself, Chief Spirits Officer. Is there a reason why it was CSO? Were you?
I just wanted something to be a little bit different and break from the traditional CEO, and just a play on words.
Perfect. Well, that's good. And some of you might already have seen this before, but if you've been following us over the last 18 months, you saw Stevely was our third distillery that we went to. So we did this last year, and we had the Canadian Whisky Journey with him, with the book club, Davin's book. You can see it kind of in the background there. And the After Dram, tons of information. But what tonight's going to be, the questions we'll be asking this time will probably piggyback a little bit on what we learned before, because we don't have to start at zero. I didn't want to ask the same questions again. So Stevely's progression from brewer to distiller to hot tub clairvoyant is well documented. So we don't have to talk about that, but it's a good idea. What we didn't learn last year was specifically what you, Stevely, you learned at Triple Diamond Distilling School in Kingman, Arizona. Is it Kingman?
In Kingman, yeah, that's correct.
Okay. And did most people there already have home distilling knowledge, experience like you had? Did your experience help you, or did it hinder you because you had, well, you were doing it differently and maybe you had certain preconceptions? I don't know. And what were your biggest takeaways? Because I'd love to know this, because I'd love to go to school.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a tremendous opportunity. And what we did at Triple Diamond was we commissioned the still there, which is a Holstein still, which is what we have in the background here. So we had an opportunity to commission the still. So we're seeing a little bit of that pre-distillery phase. And then we did go and do some training as well in Flagstaff, Arizona as well. Now, I was the only Canadian on that course, actually. And everybody else was from the States. So I flew down to Vegas, drove down to Kingman and did the course there. And a lot of the other people that were in my class, most of them have gone on to make it have distilleries in the United States. So Cinco Vodka, Trey Azar has been very successful in his project. There was another gentleman from Ranger Creek Brewing and Distilling. They started out as a brewery, had that brewing aspect, and were moving into the distillery aspect. There were some other ones I didn't really connect with, just a lower level of experience. So I kind of gravitated to the ones that had a little bit of experience and fit with what I was trying to achieve.
Right. And you learned a lot, obviously. But when you went in there, how much did you apply? Like, if someone say we're distilling at home now, and you went to something like that, what kind of knowledge are you bringing with you? Do you want to forget what you learned and relearn, or are you applying some stuff? Are you meshing it together?
I think the one thing that's a real takeaway from there was kind of, I don't know if it was a pivotal moment, but when I was operating the equipment, and it's like, okay, it's your turn. You've got the still for the day. This is your responsibility. So, and which was amazing. At that point in time, I was like, this is it. Yeah, I enjoy doing this. We're talking, there's communication, you know, the stills coming off, the cuts are very important. And I think that's one thing. Just because I can drink good whiskey or enjoy good whiskey doesn't mean I could make it. So having those cuts coming off the still and seeing what the still was capable of was amazing. So I knew that I could do it at that stage. What I was bringing with me, which I think maybe the industry struggles with a little bit right now, is even just running a small still is training your nose and your palate. And those are things that you just can't learn from a book. You can't learn from a course. You can't learn from watching YouTube videos. You just have to do it. And I think that's one thing that really was valuable to me on that course and as well moving forward.
And you can do it by temperature as well. That gives you kind of an idea when you're doing the cuts, though, right? At a certain point, you get outside. Adam, help me out. Is it 68 degrees when the methanol starts hitting, and then where you're
I think Steve Lee will help you out on this one.
No, I wanted you to. I'm trying to get you involved a little bit there, buddy. At like 68, we were talking about this because we've been reading a little bit about it, and 68 is it?
A little higher. 78.
72.
Yeah.
Oh, 78. So you're starting, and Has anyone ever kept the 4 shots before you get to the methanol? Is it worthy of keeping, or is it that's all going into the next batch for you?
Well, we typically throw away our heads. Yeah, we don't redistill. There's the odd exception. So where we do redistill, we concentrate our heads in subsequent redistillations, but we toss them away, and we redistill our tails until they get too strong, and then we end up tossing it as well.
Okay.
So I think temperature is the science end of things. So your still is, it's like a canvas, and everything that comes with the still, whether it's the temperature gauges, the steam that you're running your still at, your condenser, those are your paints. So you can adjust those on how you want your still to run. So temperature is one, and certainly that's the science aspect of it, but it still has an art to it as well.
And we've talked about that before, and the nose is important. And you hear about the stories of the guys that would just walk into the still and it's like, oh, you're doing this. Oh, you're at this point. And so it's really kind of neat. I like that. And I like the science and the arts coming together. I'm kind of that type of guy. I like it all meshing together. But gentlemen, because I want to make sure we get to all of these, let's taste the new make. And it's called Virgin Spirit, Virgin
Spirits barley.
There we go.
Yeah,
Okay.
That's it right there.
So 100% barley in that still right behind them. And as you're doing that, so knows that, gentlemen, I just want to throw a couple pictures up here for people as you're doing that. So that's where the Dubh Glas Distillery is. So southern, really close to that border. And for some reason, I thought it was closer to Kelowna, but still pretty good. And here we go. This is where we are in the city. And there's that nice orange suit that we've seen so many times. And there's the still right there. Sorry. And who's that beside you?
That's our lead mash man, BJ. Okay. Yeah, he's been with us for a few years, maybe 4 years probably now. He's a valuable part of the distillery. Sharp looking suits. It's great. Yeah, that's our COVID outfits. We work in that every day.
Do you? Yeah. I believe it. Why not? You're a showman. Why not get out there in a suit every day?
Yeah.
So what do we think, gentlemen?
I really like it. I've had this several times over many years now. I even had a bunch in my little Douglas barrel there that's now retired, and I think I ran about 5 or 6 different batches through there. Love it. I'm finding this one is a bit softer than what I remember the last ones being. Still very, very fruity. Yeah.
And that was going to be a question. You've seen a development over time?
Or I tasted it. Yeah, this is just more memory. And I mean, I don't know how valid my tasting memory is from when I first started drinking the virgin spirits, but yeah, it's lovely. I remember trying it against another local distillery, and the fellow who brought the other one in, I won't mention the distillery, but he was talking about how amazing his new make was. And then I had some of Stevely's. I gave that to him, and he was a little bit shell-shocked. He didn't know what to say because he thought that his was so awesome. And then he tried Stevely's, and he was a bit tongue-tied after that. So if that doesn't say a whole bunch, then I don't know what that's.
And I'm getting caramels, like caramel apple. So very fruity. And the sweetness is more caramel for me than honey or butterscotch. So that I relate usually to those 3 sweetness, or a fourth, the powder sugar type thing. But this kind of caramelly for me. Adam, what you getting?
Yeah, I'm just so shocked. I purposely haven't tried it yet. So like I just tried it now, and yeah, like it's so drinkable, and it's new make. It's like, what? How can this be? And I'm really excited to try the next ones too. But it's really cool to see something that has such a great base. It's balanced, just is how I feel. Like there's nothing that just sticks out that's in your face. There's nothing to cover. It's just like this is a clean canvas to work with, and then you're not going to try to hide anything with the oak. You're not going to try to mess around with it that way. It's just adding to it. So wow, outstanding job.
Yeah, there's often this new make stink. I've had new make from, I don't know, maybe 8 or 10 different distilleries, and there's this new make stink that often is there, kind of like smelly feet or something. I don't know, but it doesn't seem to be there on this new make. So
no smelly feet on here.
No smelly feet.
Yeah.
This was a great idea. Richard and Steve Lee talked about this before, came up with the idea. And to compare the three others, I didn't know we were going to do the new make until I got your care package, and a beautiful care package, by the way, Steve. I've always wanted this, and I've asked this of many people doing presentations. Could I get the new make so we can see what it came out at its infancy? Because I don't think if it's not solid when it comes out at the infancy, then you're just hiding the flavors. You're trying to correct stuff, and that's why I was really excited to get all four. Steve Lee, what do you want on this when this comes out? What are you looking for?
It's kind of like, so I spent some time. Mike Nicholson came here actually and really helped me do the cuts, and he's helped out most notably at Shelter Point when they were first starting out. So when I do my cuts, especially on the tail end, which I think is really important, is fresh tropical fruit. And I get a honeydew melon note, which softens as the spirit has come off the still. So as the new make sits, that kind of honeydew melon. And for me, it's a fresh cut honeydew melon as opposed to an overripe honeydew melon. And Mike was great. When he was in here, I was nosing at the still, and we were talking about the cuts. And he's like, maybe we should go outside in his thick Scottish accent. And he's like, no, bring that glass with you. So we did, and I nosed it outside, and it was just like a light bulb. I was like, wow. Like, we came outside, and he's like, nose it now. Well, he's having a cigarette, a fag, as he calls them.
Okay.
And it was just a light bulb, and it could see the freshness just in an environment, because we're nosing the cuts inside the distillery, and there's so much flavor and aromas in the distillery. Once we came outside, it was fresh, and I was better able to decipher where I want my cuts to be.
That's
so
cool.
as we get the fresh tropical fruit note, the honeydew melon, I find now that I get a very distinctive caramel note, and you may pick up a banana. So quite often we describe this as a bananas foster.
My wife got the banana right away, so it was great. We were putting it back and forth. So she got the banana, and that was her first comment. And I had to work at the banana because I get the banana on the Two Brewers new make immediately. That's something I get, and it's the marshmallow bananas is the smell that comes to me. It just jumps up. This one I have to work at it, so I can go more for honeydew than banana. I'm right there with you with the honeydew and the caramel. So a caramelized honeydew. Forget the caramel apple. It's a caramel honeydew. That's what we want to do. All right, it's great. Thank you. And I'm going to keep going back and forth between this and all the other ones that we try. Just, because I've always wanted to do it. So back to you, Steve Lee. We went from lofty dreams in a hot tub to research to making the decision to open the distillery. So you went through the process. I think you said 2005 is when it started all for you, when you made that decision. Is that right?
Yeah.
You opened many years later, but you made the decision way before you opened the distillery. But it's a big jump. You're doing all the research, what you want to make, where you're going to make it, how you're going to do it, to actually getting into the distillery. So what information did you uncover that convinced you that you're probably going to make it, like it's going to work? So I want to know what that big moment was for you that's like, this is going to work, instead of I'm just going to make this work and it's going to happen no matter what. Was there a point when you're researching, it's like, yeah, I could do it?
Yeah, I mean, there's always doubt. I think there's always doubt. I mean, you hope you can make it, you plan and you prepare, but there's always just a little bit of doubt. So I think the one thing that really led us to success, if you want to call what we're doing right now successful, which I think we are,
Yep, I think so.
that's planning and preparation. And I had time. I wasn't in a rush. I had a great job. You know, things were going well. I took some education at Mount Royal in Calgary, an entrepreneurial course. So I started to build. I wrote a good business plan. I had good mentors that overlooked my business plan and questioned me on what was in my business plan and forced me to do better. The business plan was great. And I looked at different areas in BC because the laws were more beneficial in the province as opposed to Alberta at the time. And then when I started looking at locations, along with building the business plan, where I was going to be was very important. And I visit early on to Okanagan Spirits, which was the first craft distillery in British Columbia. You know, at the time, the owner there said how important it was to sell out the door. And so I really looked at how we could sell out the door. And we needed a high profile location. We looked at comparable industries, which is the wine industry, and why people were stopping at wineries and coming in to purchase the product. So 37% of visitors to a winery were the referral market. So for me, I thought being in a small community would be important. 22% of their visitors saw the winery or they saw a sign. And so being in a high profile location where you could see the building or you could see the sign was important. So right there, we had 60% of your visitors who didn't spend $1 on advertising. So those things were really important. So I wanted to focus on getting into a small community, integrating within the community, and being in a high profile location. So then the Okanagan popped up. And certainly climate, it was a big factor as well.
And what was your biggest concern when you're thinking about this? You're starting right before you sell your house and you're going to buy everything. What's your biggest concern? What's I don't want to say what's your biggest doubt, because we've all got doubts, and you said that. But what was your biggest concern? Would I be a fantastic distiller, or did you have a lot of faith in yourself at that point? I'm trying to wonder what your biggest roadblock was.
Well, other than the whole project is like a giant wall as opposed to a block. I mean, this is a big thing, and certainly doubts along the way. I think the big thing was really whiskey, and just because I liked a good dram didn't mean I could make it. And finding new make spirits to basically, running a small still is very different than running a big still. And so making a quality spirit was really a big concern for me when we were starting out. I mean, whiskey, there's a lot of pressure on your shoulders. Friends, family, they believe in you, and you have this lingering doubt in the background. They're like, you'll have no problem. You're like, there's something in the background that's weighing on you. If things didn't turn out well, I mean, that's a huge amount of pressure. You got guys like Rich, who, just from the concept, he's buying into a barrel. He believes in my concept or my idea. He didn't even taste new make spirit at that time. So tremendous pressure, I think, on making the whiskey. And then starting a distillery and realizing you have to make another spirit. And it really looked like gin is a good category to be in, but you don't like gin. So now we got another hurdle or another big doubt. So I'm like, wow, this is, and then the distillery's starting up and you're dealing with, electricians and plumbers and gas fitters and still installation. And you have everybody that comes along with that. It's pretty overwhelming. It's a big learning curve, certainly.
Did you have a mentor? At the planning stage, was there a mentor or someone that you maybe just read, just someone that guided you a bit more?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly had, because I worked for a big company in Alberta, so we had VP of finance, and I threw my business plan past their desk, two different VPs of finance to say, is this a viable business? And what I'm doing, is this going to work? And certainly guided me in the right direction. When I got to the Okanagan here, just before getting the distillery going, I had a couple of business mentors in mind and approached one of them, which was a winery owner. And I still visit with him at least once a year and throw ideas. I show him my numbers, and he's been a very successful winery owner for over 20 years. So he's been amazing as well. So having a good mentor, I think, is really important. They come at it from a different perspective with no vested interest. It's been valuable.
And they want you to succeed. Rich, I think it's time for number one. I think we should go on to F007.
I agree. Let's do it.
And so I'm going to go back and forth between the new make and the F007. And I don't know if you want to do that, but I'm going to have fun doing this. I want to try to figure out the development between them. So I'm going to try to figure out the base of both and see what has changed within the wood. And Steve Lee, could you tell us, before Rich does that, just tell me why F007? Is there any significance? It's just the seventh barrel from a certain year?
Yeah,
like James
that's
Bond?
exactly what it is. So this is, we started in Alpha year, so this is Foxtrot year, and this is the seventh barrel in Foxtrot year. So.
Perfect. I think it's a good number there, Richard. You started off well no matter what.
Absolutely.
All right, lead us through it, Richard.
Well, okay. Let's just drink up. But just to acknowledge one of our listeners, Stephen Schmutz out of Kamloops, he was asking if one of these was going to be the Lafroig or from the ex-Lafroig cask. So there's my answer, Stephen. There you go. Yes, the F007. And Steve Lee can tell us a little bit more about the cask and all that stuff. But let's just. This is actually the fourth barrel that we've purchased, so the youngest one. I think it was January 22nd. Is that right? Steve Lee, do you have that info?
I believe that's correct.
Okay. And that's of this year, so it's really, really young. And if you, Dolph, are drinking it against the new make, you're probably going to be able to pick up some of those notes.
And the caramel's coming through even more on the 007, because the caramel came fairly quickly to me on the new make, but on the 007 it's creamy and caramelly now. And Steve Lee, for any of this, all natural color, non-chill filtered, some type of filter?
No filter. These everything came directly out of the barrel at full cask strength, so no filter at all. And I don't like to say those other words, so I think we put that on the bottle. Yeah.
Good for you. Yeah.
And the mouthfeel really tells the story anyway. Adam, what are you thinking?
Yeah, it's the young wood. You still get that on it. The peat will probably come out more, I'm guessing, with more age. Is that right? From the cask, or
from our experience. Well, this is kind of unique because we're doing a full maturation, and previously we've only done cask finishing with the Lafroig quarter casks. So, and from our experience, the peat has softened with time. So, yeah.
So this is as peaty as it's going to get, you think?
This is a new one because we're doing full maturation, like I say. So I think this is as peaty as it's going to get.
Okay. But your barrels, it shouldn't be a big difference for you either. I know it's a different company and different, but you're usually 100 liters. These are 80, is it 85, 86 liters for the quarter cask?
The quarter cask is 125 liters.
125.
So I'm going to try. Yeah. So 250 is half. So 500 is, I can't remember the name. I want to say it, but I'd say the wrong one, so I have a 50-50 chance.
And you know what? I've got them at the back of my cards and I just take my cards out and I just flip them to the back of the cards. It's
a quarter of a 500 liter barrel, which is 125 liters.
Perfect.
Yeah,
so
that's a butt.
Just slightly larger. A butt.
Yeah.
The 500's a butt.
A sherry butt.
Big old butt.
You still get that banana Foster. Like it's still all, the new make is all there, right? That's what I love about this too. You just get this essence of the wood, and the cask kind of provides a different flavor. It's neat to see it.
Yeah, I mean, the new make is certainly there, but I think it's building, and there's so much flavor. Oh, there you go. There's so
It's
much
very
flavor
helpful
that's
for
already
very for
coming out of the wood in a short period of time. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it actually. This is the second time we've pulled a little sample out of it, and I really enjoy it just as is with just that hint of flavor on it.
Mm-hmm.
And is this your first time in a peated cask, Steve? Because I know you've been in a lot of wines before.
We've done some cask finishing in the quarter casks. Like we've been fortunate. We got these barrels from Shelter Point, which was very gracious of them to pass these along. I think I asked for 2 barrels at the Victoria Whiskey Festival, and
Nice.
Jacob showed up with 3 in the back of his truck, and we had to jam everything into our vehicle in Victoria. Thanks, Jacob. There was 3 of us in our SUV and 3 quarter casks plus everything that we had from the festival with us. So yeah, we've been very fortunate to piggyback on what Shelter Point has done and sharing some of this. So we've done some cask finishing and had a little bit of experiments between kind of 1 and 6 months, starting out in ex-bourbon and then going to the quarter cask. So from our experience, spending 6 months in the quarter cask puts less peat on than spending 1 month in the quarter cask. We did an experiment this year where we actually tried to shunt the whiskey back out of the wood by cooling the barrel outside. And in the winter time, because the barrel is naturally breathing, it's expanding and contracting. So we're trying to extract a little bit more of the peat out of the wood by cooling the whole barrel down and pulling that flavor back to the core.
I love that, but I'm picturing like some big magician just pushing with cold, trying to just get all of it. That's just how I would do it on the front of some label, some guy just pushing it. But we did have a question, and is it available in Saskatchewan? Because Steve Lee, you were last year you were saying you were thinking you were going to be in Saskatchewan and down south in the States pretty soon. Are you there yet?
The Noteworthy Gin is we're approved in the States, but as for the whiskey, we struggle to keep it in stock here at the distillery. It is one of the biggest challenges that we have here. On whiskey release day, we have people lined up down the street with their cars, and this year, we had a very busy day at the distillery, and we're sampling a lot of the products. And this time we wanted to alleviate a little bit of the pressure of sales at the distillery by selling them at the end of the day, what was remaining. And we sold more whiskey in an hour than we did all day at the distillery, which was crazy. And the reason why I think it's crazy is that, and this is another really humbling thing, is that people have tried some of our products and they're willing to purchase a product without tasting it, which is stunning. So
you have a following.
Distribution is going to be a big challenge for those in Alberta. The first whiskey that's going to make it into Alberta will be with Kensington Wine Market, because Andrew Ferguson bought a barrel here at the distillery. We worked him actually while he was here, mashing and running.
And he showed that on social media. Yeah, he had pictures of that on Instagram, so he was pretty proud of himself. And he's everywhere. Yeah. I love him. He helped us out with our barrel as well. So it's just great to have a guy like that that's really into everything, because he loves to travel. He likes to pick his barrels. But I'm glad that you got him to work. That's kind of cool. Was that your idea or his?
So tired at the end of the day. It was his, actually. It was a Bernheim wheat barrel, and he drove it up in his Volvo all the way from Kentucky to Calgary, and then from Calgary all the way over to the distillery. So there's a big story that comes with that, and that's been in the barrel now 5 years, I believe. So some of the whiskey
in the barrel. Yeah, it's weeded.
We've been talking. It's it's a Bernheim wheat barrel, and
Yeah.
certainly wasn't developing the kind of flavor that we would have expected after 2 or 3 years. We actually considered double barreling it, but now that it's been in the barrel for 5 years, I think 5+ years, 2015. Yeah, I think we're nearing 6 years actually.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, there's some amazing flavor that's now coming out of it. So I suspect the first whiskey that's really going to make it into distribution will be with Kensington Wine Market in Alberta.
Perfect.
We want to get it out to our retailers. It's just, it's really hard. We want to reward those who've supported us, certainly with Noteworthy, but when we sell it out the door so quickly.
That is
But
a
over
good
the
problem
years,
to
we
have.
ramped up our production.
Perfect problem to have, and keeping stock, it just means you have a great product, and you have some very, very devoted followers. So I don't know, I am as well. When we find something out, and other people, if you can't buy it, you can still go online and you can go to, is it the Dubh Glas Distillery? I think you have to have the in front of it when we do the search online.
That's correct.
I think that's the only one. Just put the, and then you'll get to it.
Yeah.
It's good. Good to have. And Kensington Wine Market, if you're on their email list, you'll find out, because when this comes out, yeah, you got to go fast. And how much would you sell? Are you thinking if you're going in there? Is it one barrel, like his barrel, and then are you keeping some of it like you were doing with others?
Yeah, I don't want to reveal too much about what we talked about with Andrew, so I don't
right.
know if
That's it.
but we have an option with that. So yeah,
Nice.
that's kind of a stay tuned kind of option. We have more barrels, so as our pipeline kind of opens up a little bit, we're going to have the opportunity to get some more whiskey into hands. This was this year where we had a decent production year. We're certainly going to be increasing our sales. So if it's sitting on the shelf for us, then it probably should be on a shelf somewhere else to sell.
Nice. Have you ever thought of distilling 24/7, 6 days a week, 7 days a week? Because I don't hear any distilling, nothing going on in the background right now. I'm not sure.
We're kind of doing that already. So we're this year we've done almost a full year's, our biggest production year of whiskey. We have almost completed that, and we're only 6 months in.
Nice.
We didn't really have a shutdown period of time this year, so so this is really exciting. So for those people, 3 to 5 years, we're going to have a lot more whiskey available. And
you have talked about expanding as well, but maybe we'll get back to that in a second. I'll ask that later, because I want Richard's opinion on his whiskey, because it's his stuff.
Before I do, one of our listeners and viewers wants to know, Steve Lee, how often you do your releases.
Typically, there is really kind of 2 dates we like to target. One is June, which is the final weekend in June, the weekend before a July long weekend. That's kind of a target date for us, because that's around, we have an anniversary celebration at the distillery every year, so we target that date. And then we have a fall release as well, just before the holidays. So that's another target date. With that in mind, our next release, we are shooting for the July long weekend. So we have some barrels that have come of age, and we've just actually been waiting for labels to come from the printers. So typically we do 2 releases in the year. This year, you may see 3 or 4 releases.
Right. And I think probably the unspoken question is, how does Steven Schmutz get onto the email or whatever to get a hold of some of these whiskeys? I think that's probably what he's asking.
Yeah.
So I won't give out my personal cell phone number, because that already breaks up lots. So the best way really is to go onto the website, scroll down to the bottom. There is a link there. It says join the mail list, and we send out what whiskeys are coming available a week before the release and the timing. So that's your best opportunity to get access to the distilleries. And if you aren't able to get through that way, certainly send us a message through any of our social media channels, and we'll add you. But if you really need to call me, you could certainly call me as well. We'll make sure you're on the list.
Oh, nice.
So back to your question, Dolph. What I've been warming it up, covering it up, and
Close to
by
your
doing
heart.
so, I think it's bringing out a little bit more of that sort of dry, earthy, slightly ashy peat that's in there.
With the heat, yep.
Yeah, I'm actually, it doesn't taste like it's only about 6 months old or whatever, 5 months old, something like that. Super drinkable. I love the high ABV. It's probably about 63 or so now, I would imagine, Steve Lee.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's a good assessment.
Yeah. So,
it's something we should say. The alcohol goes up there because the water evaporates faster, which is really kind of cool.
yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, it's a dandy. I'm looking forward to seeing how it matures over the years. But I'm actually curious to see what Adam's thinking, because this is his first kick of the can with this.
Yeah, I mean, it's the drinkability just shocks me too for 6 months. There were a couple of questions I had not on the topic of this one, just for Steve Lee. I was kind of curious about, do you take your hearts all as one, or do you ever let some bleed out in the middle of the hearts?
Bleed out to keep, or
no, to get rid of?
No, we keep our hearts. Okay.
Yeah. And then is there ever any blending that you do between with sections of your hearts?
I want to say yes in that, because we do some multiple distillations. We have a really tight heart run, and so I take a longer tails run, and then we redistill that with some other tails and hearts to kind of increase the yield. So, and yeah, the simple answer is yes.
And does that change
complicated?
Does that change the flavor profile too, doing the second distillation? Do you get something brand new from that when you add the hearts and the tails together?
Yes, certainly. Absolutely. Okay. And when we first started out, I wasn't doing that actually. We were just kind of keeping it batched. But now we're doing more of a blend. So I believe it's different, and I do like it.
I'm just blown away with how good this stuff is. It's incredible. It really is.
Yeah, this is delicious.
It is.
If I would have known how well this turned out, I would have used those quarter casks, filled them right up right away as well. But we do a lot of experiments, and if something turns out well, we talk about it on a podcast. And if it doesn't turn out well, we just kind of tuck it away into the file 13 in the dark corner of the distillery and redistill it for future use.
It makes me feel better to know that you're at least a human and you do have stuff that doesn't work, because everything I'm tasting is so good. It's just wow. So.
Yeah, I think we've made mistakes. Go ahead.
I think it's important. Yeah, it's just that it's important to note that Steve Lee, every conversation that I have had with him over the years is about how much care he takes in terms of trying to make his whiskeys and his gins, his new make, absolutely stunning. He doesn't want to make something that's half-assed. He wants his products to be good. And, sort of like we were talking about the last couple of weeks with craft distilleries, one of the things that kept coming up is that true craft distillers really want their craft to be something that really stands out and is of good quality. And Steve Lee stands by that. So, yeah.
Thanks. Well, that's very kind.
Thanks. Yeah.
It shows.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's important. Yeah, I don't want to put something in a bottle that just to say this is unique and an experiment. And we've had some mistakes here, and certainly on the gin end of things, almost to tears. It's such a big mistake, and then yeah.
Well, you can redistill it too. You're not losing. You're losing time and effort, but you're not losing money, and you learn
Correct.
something though too. So it's still, as the teacher kind of thought process that with the people on this panel, it's worth it. Everything that happens is for a reason. It's all good. I want to find out about fermentation time.
Yeah.
And are you longer? 60, 80, 90 hours? How long?
Yeah, we
You don't
do
have to tell us
typically
exactly.
72 to 80 hours is typically what we're doing. We did do some longer fermentation just to test it out. I didn't find anything really, like, to pull out some more of the fruitier esters, and I didn't find anything that was really noticeable. And just due to the size of our operation, and because we kind of keep the ball rolling, shorter fermentation worked for us.
Good. Well, and you're selling out. You need more stuff, but you might be getting bigger. So you have plans, and you had plans at the inception, which was really impressive. I really like this about you and how you perceive your future, because it shows a level of confidence and forethought, which teachers like. We do. It shows a bit about the character, but I want to know when this plan for the extension, and there's some pictures. If anyone wants to, you go on, you Google it, and you just say the Dubh Glas, and you go to the images, and you're going to see a couple pictures of what you want. And I'm wondering, when did you come up with the idea? Was it at the beginning, and would it have changed after you've been in the business for 6 years?
Well, when we started the project here, I wanted a much larger building. We had a bigger tasting lounge and retail area. And then when it became readily apparent that money was going to be a big hurdle for us, and somebody who had very little experience to no experience in the distilling industry, so we actually split the building in half and just built the operations area. So we have another half of the building, which is actually 2/3. So we have another 3,000 square feet to add on to the building. And as the rules changed, it turned out that that second half of the building was going to be really beneficial, because we could get a lounge endorsement, and then there was great opportunity. What I've really just figured out in the past couple of years is that we are drastically running out of space in the distillery with all the barrels. You know, we move the grain out every day when we're in production. We don't have enough room. So we're going to build a storage warehouse. We hope to start that this fall. And there's a very good chance that we're going to start that.
What's that going to look like? How high, how wide, dunnage style?
Yeah, we're gonna build about 2,000 square feet. It's going to fit with the theme of the distillery. Just square, nothing too dramatic, not big high ceilings or anything. We'll keep the ceilings low. But it's going to be with the ability to add on and add on and add on and grow. So much like the second half of the building, you know, I've always said, you know, big dreams, little budget, and we'll kind of grow into what we're trying to achieve. And yeah, this is a great fit for us. We need space.
Perfect. And I'm just remembering a conversation I had with Davin about you when he was there with you. You're saying for you to get samples for him, you were climbing and climbing and climbing. I'm wondering if is there a better way?
Wow. Is there a better way, period, Steve?
We lost the host. So,
well, you know what? Go answer the question.
Well, I'm guessing he was saying a better way to access it, right? Like than climbing.
Yeah, and I think one of the challenges for us actually is because the barrels are so tight, and Rich has been here. I think there's a photo of Rich of us climbing up to the very top. I mean, we're only three or four barrels high in the back of the distillery. So, I mean, it's a challenge to access the barrels and pull samples. So, is there a way to store the
to store them so that they can
There certainly is, and I think with us where we can see all the barrels, we can have easy access to them. Yeah, absolutely, there is, and with a bigger space, it's going to make it easier.
Because I'm picturing if you've got 12 barrels in a row, you have to lift those 12 barrels to get the ones below and turn each one of those. And I'm wondering if there's some forklift way that you can. I can't conceptualize it, and that's what I'm thinking. So hopefully when I see it,
Yeah,
sometimes.
just visually seeing all the barrels is.
Let's try whiskey number 3, if we may, because we're at the 49-minute mark and we've only done half the whiskey. So we got to get to number 3. And if you can tell us how old this one is, and we'll turn this over to Richard as well. Richard and Steve Lee, information on this one. How long, how old, why did you pick it?
Sure. So when we were, I was looking at one more Douglas cask and contacted Steve Lee, and he said, "Yeah, we have some casks." And so I emailed out my group, and all of a sudden I've got this overload of people wanting casks. So it was like, okay, well let's get 2 casks then. And Steve Lee had this idea that, well, we've actually got one that's already been aged for a year. So this one's going to be about 17 months if my math is right. I think it was January of 2020. So so just over a year now. And so we wanted a bit of diversity. So this one's unpeated, where the other one that's in the ex Lafroy cask, that's going to have that touch of peat on it. So yeah, so that's why we got this one. And this is, yes, as it says down below, E16. Yeah, let's go for it.
And Steve Lee, what can you tell us about this cask, E16?
Are we in E16? I'm going to have to go back to and take a look at what we have on E16.
Or you can just tell me what
this
you
is
like about it.
Yeah, so the E16 is an ex-bourbon barrel. This is a full 200-liter ex-bourbon barrel. We got these barrels fresh, actually. So you're going to pick up a lot of big corn notes on this. Yeah, I'm going to give it a nose here. So sorry I came in a little bit late there.
No, I'm going back and forth. So, and a big difference between whiskey number 2.
Yeah, you certainly pick up that ex-bourbon cask on it.
Yeah, it's a little sweeter.
Yep. Still get a lot of that fruit note that you got on the new make as well, which I didn't pick up quite as much on the F007.
Yeah. And Richard, are you thinking everything at 3 years, or will you be tasting them once a year? You'll go down, taste them for a summer holiday, and then decide maybe another year, or do you just leave it up to Steve when he said?
Yeah, we target 3 years, but ultimately I leave it to Steve Lee, and we have another club member down there that's in on most of the casks named Crystal Coverdale as well, and she's right next door almost, and so she's in a Soyuz, and she just whips down and checks it out. And Steve Lee and Crystal are good buddies as well, and we just kind of go at it that way. Steve Lee's kind enough to send samples of the barrels as well every year, so I get a good sense of whether or not it's ready to go. So, but really, we leave it up to Steve Lee. He's in charge. He hasn't disappointed us once, so
he knows what he's doing.
He does.
Well,
I'm going back to number 2. I'm loving the nose on number 2. It's even sweeter after we go to the 16. Nosing back, it's sweet. It's fantastic. And hello, Paul from Fort McMurray. Welcome. Okay, I love this. It's good. And now, woo. All of us just went. Okay, we're lost in thought, and
everybody's drinking.
Honestly, it's just so good.
Channel.
It's so good.
It's like a Nick
funny.
Offerman video. We're just sitting drinking whiskey.
Get the Lafroy cask from him. That'd be great.
Yeah.
All right. So, yeah, we said 3-4 years, which is good. And Steve Lee, what are you looking for when it comes out at 3 years before you make the decision? Are you thinking, I want more wood, I want this to... Is there a gambit of things you're asking yourself, or where you just kind of get a feeling for it? I'm trying to think of it. I'm going back to the art, going back to the science, but I think this is more art.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good question. I think it's multifaceted as well. So is this drinkable? Is this ready for the bottle? That's the most important to me. Will people enjoy this? So when we talk about Rich, I think it's important that whoever's buying into our barrel program, that they're getting what they want out of the barrel as well. So we take a look at Andrew's barrel. It wasn't developing in flavor profile, so we let it sit. And I think that's important. So if it's ready in 3 years, then let's bottle it. If it's not, let's give it some more time. We've had some barrels, our smaller barrels were just too oak dominant. We tried to soften that down by putting them in a second barrel. We have a vested interest in the barrel program. I think it's really important, as opposed to just filling up a barrel and giving the Cask Futures customer their 44 bottles. We want to ensure that the other portion of that barrel is really good as well, because we're putting our name behind it and selling it to customers.
Awesome.
It is awesome. It's fantastic. You were talking about your previous bottles, and I'm just relating this to something from last year. You chose to go there because there was a Cooper in the area. By the time we talked to you last year, there was no Cooper. Is there a Cooper now? Or are you the Cooper?
There is no Cooper. Yeah, it was a sad day when we found that the cooperage was closing down and selling all its equipment to the United States. Actually, I was in the airport on my way to the Victoria Whiskey Festival. Actually, it was a bit of a blow for us. The bonus is the gentleman who owned the cooperage in Oliver, Cal. He still does barrel repairs, and has been generous and very gracious with his time to come here and teach me little things like barrel repair and how to fix little things with the barrel. So he's been fantastic.
And your 100-liter barrels that you have, they were fairly new. Is there a lot of upkeep on those? I'm just thinking they're smaller. I don't know if that makes a difference.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, we let them.
Yeah,
I mean, there is some upkeep. We've learned a lot about how skilled a Cooper is at his trade. When you get that barrel back from the Cooper, use it right away. Don't let it sit. Don't give it some time. So maintenance is certainly an issue. I mean, we've had some leaky barrels. Being on top of them and repairing leaks right away is really important to ensure you don't lose all your liquid in the barrel.
And do you season them yourselves, or because you can get so many barrels from the vineyards around you? Is that something you'd ever considered or had to do?
Like getting seasoned barreled or
no,
using
seasoning them yourself. So you get barrels, or you have barrels from, I don't know, anywhere, and deciding you want some different type of finish in it, and you're throwing in port. I don't know if you've ever had a port finish, but is that something you'd ever consider?
I'll give you some sneak peeks on some of the barrels that we have going on. We have done port finished whiskey, Canadian port style wine barrels, and we seek out Canadian port style wine barrels from the region. And the more exhausted they are, the better it is for us. We have a couple of experimental barrels, so I don't think we've ever talked about it. So this will be kind of the first. I don't know if anybody's had a whiskey that had been finished in a stout barrel. So it was really good. I was super impressed with that whiskey. And so we had the local brewery get their holy smoked stout from Fire Hall Brewery and fill one of the barrels, and they aged their stout in one of the ex-bourbon barrels, and we're maturing our whiskey in that barrel now as well. We had a local cidery. We had another ex-bourbon barrel. They filled it with cider and aged some cider in it for, I believe, about 18 months. And then we have that barrel back, and we're doing full maturation with that one as well. So
you are seasoning them.
We are seasoning
them for you. That's all right. That's good.
The short answer is yes, and I just gave you the long answer.
No, I like the long answer better. And we're going to go to the last dram. I know I'm for it. We're rushing us a little bit, but I want to get them all within this first hour. We're going to go a little bit over the hour, not a whole bunch, but let's get into dram number 4, gentlemen. And how old's this one, Richard?
This one cracks in at just over 3 years. If memory serves me correct, it turned
Yeah.
3 on May 21st of this year.
Nice.
That's a good memory.
I've got
He's
a
invested.
picture of it on my phone. So not right now. Right now I got the YouTube live, but I've seen the picture fairly recently. Crystal's tweeted about it as well. She or put it on. I don't know. I can't remember, but it's in my head.
Steve Lee, I think after doing this, I'll be able to pick your whiskey out of a lineup fairly easily, because on 3 of the 4, I get the caramel notes really heavily, and I'm getting them on the nose now that I'm picking them out. So it takes a little bit of time for me to pick out the flavor where I can identify it, and I think I can identify yours now. And so I'm gonna have my wife test me over the next couple of weeks. Send her downstairs, and I've got the little black glasses, and she'll fill them up, and I'll see if I can pick it out.
Oh, nice.
I think I can. I'm pretty happy. This is an epiphany moment for me, Steve Lee. It's very important.
Well, you know, I did a blind tasting actually at a distillery in Alberta, and they tried to trick me as well. And we did, yeah, he pulled out a number of whiskeys. What's that?
They didn't give you some of yours.
They gave me some of mine, and we had it in a lineup in a blind tasting. And
Okay.
Fortunately, I did pick mine out of the lineup.
Okay. I would assume that you guys, you're with
Yeah,
it all.
well-
Yeah, that's good. It would have been a bit embarrassing if you didn't, but you could have just said, yeah, I had a cold. Sorry, I'm stumped out. Okay, I can't do it. Rich, what do you think of it?
I really like it, just like the others. I'm picking up different notes on it, though, in this one. I don't know if it's my glass or if it's the whiskey itself, but there's almost a bit of cinnamon and a bit of sage on this as well. Interesting thing about this one, I don't know if Steve Lee, you want to talk about what we're planning on doing with this one?
Yeah, so this is kind of a unique one. So under craft distilling laws in British Columbia, we use 100% BC agricultural ingredients in the making of all of our spirits. And we wanted to do a peated whiskey. However, there is no peated barley available in British Columbia, and the malting house we work with isn't going to do any peated barley anytime soon. So we looked at creative ways of getting peat in there. And I wasn't a big fan of smoking the barley post malting. I had some before, and I didn't like that kind of tarry sootiness in it. So actually speaking with Odd Society and Gordon Glanz, we talked about using peated barley and infusing it in the same way we do with our gin distillations. So this is actually been macerated with Scottish peated barley, and has had a third pot still distillation to infuse that kind of underlying grain note that you're tasting in there. And we're looking at finishing this in another peated barley, in another peated barley. And I haven't had that much whiskey all day today, I swear. In another peated whiskey barrel as well, that another distillery who I love and admire is graciously going to share with us.
Gordon's a great guy, and that's a fantastic idea. I don't know why people wouldn't have thought of that. Has it been done somewhere?
I don't know if it's been done somewhere. I know Gordon did it through his vapor infuser, and I know they have had a product out. We just did the full maceration. It's certainly distinctly different as well. We did a couple of barrels this way, so we'll see how the other one turns out as well. But a different flavor profile. So to give this a little bit more peated pop, I think putting it in a peated Scotch whiskey barrel, we're going to compound the complexity of flavor. So it's more of a back end note that's there as opposed to the front and forward that you were getting from the Lefroy.
That's really interesting. That's really cool. Adam, your thoughts?
Yeah, one of the interesting things is Dolph and I have brewed up some smoked and peated porters.
Yeah.
And so we've used in Alberta, a couple of the guys do the peated malts. And so when you say that, like I can almost taste when we taste our grains ourselves and just grab them before we're brewing and taste them, it does have that grainy, the barley flavor there, which I don't know how else to describe it because it's not biscuity, but it's there. It's really cool.
It's a different, unique flavor as well. Something that I'm not used to. So,
and it's a bit astringent on the side of the mouth, and this is a good thing for me. I like this, but right on this, it's like drinking a tannic red wine is what I'm getting on the side. Anyone else? Same thing.
I don't drink red wine much.
Well, this whiskey is probably in the neighborhood of 67 to 69% ABV, so that also could be a factor.
That could be it too. Yeah. You know what? We're out of time, so we're going to do last comments. Adam, we'll start with you, and then Rich, and then Steve Lee, and then we're going to sign off and get ready for the after jam. So thoughts either on the whiskey or anything you want on life itself.
This whole experience has been pretty incredible. I would recommend to any of the listeners picking up that Virgin New Make bottle because I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think you sell it. Is that right?
Still online.
That is correct.
Yeah, because like to try that, and then if you can get your hands on any of the bottles that are available on those, what a learning experience it is just for your palate, for everything, and you're not even disappointed by the Virgin. Like it tastes so good, and even coming back to it, it's such a beautiful spirit. And if I remember correctly too, one of the things you like people to do is have the little small cask. Is that right?
He used to sell them.
And do you still do that with the small casks and?
Yeah, Rich has them. We have a supplier out of Mexico, and we haven't been able to get any as of late. So we're hoping that this whole pandemic thing will kind of blow over, and we'll start to get some of those 1 liter barrels back in stock. And that's what we encourage people. We sold this as a kit. So the new make spirit, you get the 1 liter oak barrel. You get to experiment. You can season it with port or sherry or peated whiskey, whatever you want, and then make your own whiskey at home.
We have a great question about that in the after jam, actually, with the number 64, which might come up. Anyway, Richard.
Yeah, I'm just totally thrilled to be able to try all these all at the same time, and loving the journey. It's been a great 5-6 years or whatever it's been knowing Steve Lee. So, yeah, more. Let's do it. Woo!
Woo! And Steve Lee. You'll sign us off.
Yeah, well, thanks for the opportunity and bringing a spotlight onto craft distillers. We're certainly appreciative of it, and thanks to Rich and the We Rock Whiskey Club because we get amazing single cask bottlings, not just from the Dubh Glas Distillery, but from other distilleries as well, which is delicious. And I love doing this tasting tonight and tasting them side by side, which is fantastic as well. So appreciate everything you guys are doing for the craft distilling industry. And thanks.
Thank you, kind sir, for being there and distilling some high quality stuff. And I've just got to say, the very last one, I'm getting a cinnamon note at the end. And you guys can tell me if you think that either. And sorry, I wanted to kind of lift the shirt a little bit. We didn't kind of promote the beautiful shirts. We love the, I do. And you know what? We're supposed to wear orange on certain days at school right now. And I can't wear this because I'm not allowed to wear alcohol-related stuff. But I always want to, and I keep saying, I wish I could wear this one. And Laura says, you can't wear that to school. Anyways, conclusion, ladies and gentlemen. We're done. We're past an hour and 8 minutes. Whiskey brothers and sisters, that's the 17th edition of the Canadian Whisky Journey. We're moving our conversation from this more formalized format to a more relaxed and engaging conversation with more alcohol. Who would have known? The owner distiller, Steve Lee of Dubh Glas Distillery, will of course be with us, this lovely individual right here. And really, what better activity is there than drinking whiskey and spending time with fantastic people on a Saturday night? So you should really join us. We'll be back in roughly 5 minutes on this channel, The Spirit of Edmonton, for the After Jam. You don't want to miss a minute of it in the future. Click like, click subscribe, and we will see you all soon. Thank you all very much, and cheers, one and all.